Which cities are the most hated in the US and why? We conducted a survey featuring the 75 most populous cities in the United States and posed a simple question. Which city do you dislike or detest the most, and why? We didn't provide any further context beyond letting respondents know they could add a comment if they wished. The poll garnered around 4,000 responses and about 200 comments. Here are the 10 cities that received the most votes. Got it? Good. Let's dive in. Number 10. Trenton, New Jersey. Trenton often gets a bad reputation, and it's not hard to understand why. This is the kind of city where GPS signals seem to get lost, and traffic lights appear to hold personal grudges. The local weather seems determined to make life difficult, with winters that are colder than a frosty glare and summers that feel hotter than a furnace. The city's slogan, "Trenton makes, the world takes," feels less like a boast and more like a warning to keep your valuables safe. Trenton's crime rate is alarmingly high, a fact that many of our respondents mentioned as a primary reason for their dislike. Break-ins and violent crimes are rampant, with crime rates sitting 187% above the national average. Nearly every comment referenced crime, except for a few, including this one from Mike. Been in Trenton for 11 years for work. I keep hoping to get fired so I can go back to Troy. Trenton received 103 hate votes. Number 9. New York City. New York City is hated for a multitude of reasons. People from smaller towns move here and quickly discover they might be serenaded by a saxophonist, yelled at by a stranger, and nearly mowed down by a bike messenger, all before their morning coffee. A typical day in New York City. The sidewalks are a chaotic blend of tourists ambling at a snail's pace, much to the frustration of locals. But with so many visitors, it's hard to tell who the locals actually are, which is one reason people dislike it. It's just too crowded. Add in the high cost of living and the notorious grime, and you have a recipe for resentment. Although the city is much cleaner now than it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it's still expensive and dirty. The cost of living is one of the highest in the world. Even the cockroaches need roommates. And you might need a small loan just to afford a bagel. At least the pizza is good, right? Sheila O'Connor commented, "There's a lot to hate about the Big Apple. The people, the prices, the trash, the cab drivers. I wish I had more time because I have a lot to say, and I'm from New York City, born and raised. I'll be leaving in 3 months because I'm pregnant, and I would never raise a child here. New York City sucks." Her words, not mine. New York City received 17 hate votes. Number 8. St. Louis, Missouri. Street. Louis is a city that inspires a love-hate relationship, and it's easy to see why. The city has its fair share of challenges, including crime rates that make national headlines and a history of racial tensions that still linger. The weather is another factor, with scorching summers and freezing winters. The urban sprawl and abandoned buildings in some areas give the city a rundown appearance, and the infrastructure leaves much to be desired, with pothole-ridden streets in need of repair. These issues combine to make St. Louis a difficult place to love for some. One respondent, Derry, whether male or female, we're not sure, said, "No thanks," when their company tried to transfer them to St. Louis. St. Louis received 119 hate votes. Number 7. Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas is a city people either love or hate, much like the divide between cat lovers and dog lovers, beer drinkers and wine aficionados. For those who fall on the hate side, it often comes down to the city's overwhelming atmosphere. The bright lights, constant noise, and non-stop party vibe can be exhausting, especially if you're not into gambling or clubbing. If you are, though, Vegas might be the perfect place for you. Some people find the whole scene too artificial, with the endless strip of flashy casinos and themed hotels coming across as more tacky than entertaining. Personally, I think that's part of the charm. Add the oppressive desert heat and the sense that everything is designed to drain your wallet, and it's easy to see why some people aren't fans. Albert shared, "You want to see a lot of people who hate Vegas? Head to the airport on Sunday morning and watch the return flights. Those people hate Vegas, but they'll be back." Las Vegas received 146 hate votes. Number 6. Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, everyone loves to hate it. How could anyone despise a city with breathtaking architecture, a stunning lakefront, and a skyline that rivals the best in the world? And let's not even mention the infamous deep dish pizza that some people claim is barely edible. I've heard plenty of complaints about Chicago's pizza, and, of course, the city itself. Summers in Chicago can be unbearable, with endless festivals, music, and outdoor activities. Just terrible, right? But the real issue people have with Chicago is its reputation. There are a few dangerous neighborhoods on the west side, and the south side is notorious, but that's not all of Chicago. The city has always had a bad reputation due to its public housing projects, crime rates, and other negative aspects. This reputation worsened when Barack Obama first ran for office. Political opponents used Chicago's problems as a talking point, which only amplified the city's bad image. People still believe Chicago is the murder capital of the country, but when you look at the crime stats per capita, Chicago doesn't even rank near the top, it's 26th in the nation. Heather commented, "I grew up a few miles from Wrigley Field. It was a nice part of Chicago. It didn't get terrible, but it's not as nice as it used to be. I didn't want to raise my kids there, so I moved." Chicago received 149 hate votes. Number 5. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia often gets a bad rap, largely due to its reputation for being a bit rough around the edges. The city's passionate sports fans are known for their intense loyalty and sometimes outrageous behavior, like booing Santa Claus or throwing snowballs at the opposing team, or even batteries. Philly's gritty vibe, with its blunt and straightforward attitude, can be off-putting to those who prefer a more laid-back environment. The city has also struggled with crime and poverty, which can leave a negative impression on visitors. But beneath its tough exterior, Philadelphia is a city full of heart, history, and community spirit, making it special to those who call it home. Despite its bad reputation, there's a lot to appreciate about Philly, especially its rich history. However, the crime and rundown areas give people a reason to dislike it. And then there are the sports fans. Let's just say, I'm not a fan of attending games in Philly. Tony commented, "I'll take a cheesesteak and some Eagles tickets, and then I'm out. I can't stand being in that city anymore." Philadelphia received 164 hate votes. Number 4. Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey, often gets a bad reputation, and it's not entirely justified. Many people picture Newark as a place where guys in white tank tops toss around the F-word like it's going out of style. Not regular tank tops, but the kind you wear under your clothes. Newark's proximity to New York City doesn't help. It's like living in the shadow of a more glamorous sibling. While New York has all the glitz and star power, Newark has warehouses and aging buildings. I was in Newark about 14 or 15 months ago for a few hours, and one thing I noticed was the absence of homeless people, at least compared to cities like Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, where they're everywhere. I wasn't searching alleyways, but the difference was noticeable. Someone will probably comment, "Oh, they're there, trust me," and yes, I'm sure they are, but they're not as visible as in many Western cities. Alex commented, "If it wasn't for Donuts, I would have left years ago." There it is again. What is it with New Jersey and these references to Donuts? Every time New Jersey comes up, someone mentions it. Newark received 177 hate votes. Number 3. Los Angeles, California. There's plenty to dislike about Los Angeles. I grew up in one of the suburbs, not downtown LA, but I work downtown. The city is just too big, plain and simple, too many people, too spread out. The freeways are a nightmare, and every time you stop for gas, someone asks you for money. Homelessness is widespread, though the crime rate isn't as bad as some might think. Still, I always hope Los Angeles will turn a corner and get its act together. This city generates a lot of revenue and should have solved many of its problems by now. I know it's a tall order. After all, LA is home to nearly 4 million people, and the metro area has about 13.2 million. That's a lot of people to please. Many of the comments about LA focused on homelessness, traffic, and crime. But here's a comment from Dawn. "I've lived in Los Angeles since 1989, and I still don't like the city. Too many people, too many cars, and too much smog. It's all about looking good in LA. Los Angeles received 193 hate votes. Number 2. San Francisco, California. San Francisco used to be an amazing city, full of rich culture, incredible history, and some of the best food in the country. But those days are long gone. Now, people come to San Francisco and find a city that seems to be falling apart. The homeless situation is overwhelming, with tents lining the sidewalks in many parts of the city. The cost of living is through the roof, and housing is ridiculously expensive. The once vibrant neighborhoods are now filled with vacant storefronts, and the tech boom that once drove the city's economy has left it feeling soulless. Many residents and visitors complain about the city's decline, and it's not hard to see why. San Francisco is a shell of its former self, and it's not clear if it will ever bounce back. Despite its beauty and history, the city is plagued by serious issues that make it a tough place to love. And here's a comment from Steve. I visited San Francisco last year, and it was a complete shock. The city has really gone downhill. I used to love this place, but now it's just sad. San Francisco received 203 hate votes. Number 1. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, once known as the Motor City, is now better known for its struggles. The city has been hit hard by economic decline, and the signs of decay are everywhere. Abandoned buildings, empty streets, and a general sense of hopelessness pervade much of Detroit. The city's crime rate is among the highest in the nation, and many residents have left in search of better opportunities elsewhere. Despite efforts to revitalize the city, Detroit remains a place that many people find hard to love. The city's past glories seem distant, and its future is uncertain. But for those who live there, Detroit is home, and they continue to fight for its survival. Comments about Detroit were overwhelmingly negative, with many people mentioning crime, poverty, and the city's deteriorating infrastructure. One respondent, Jackie, said, "I've lived in Detroit my whole life, and I've seen the city go from bad to worse. I don't know if it will ever get better, but I'm not giving up hope."